So there's something that's very important that we need to understand. Do we react first or do we respond first? So from the brain perspective, when you look at it, you open it up, there's a center that deals with emotions, which is at the core of the brain. This is something that we call the subcortical region of the brain. And then we've got something that is the logical brain, or the logical part of the brain, which is, now we're talking about the prefrontal cortex, which is the frontal part of the brain. Now, the question is, why do we tend to react before we respond? Well, here's the difference. Reaction is the function of emotions, when responding is the function of logic. So for you to respond, you need to be able to process at a conscious level. But to react, it's an emotional act which doesn't really need reasoning, but it's like a knee-jerk reaction kind of a thing. So why do we do that? So when you look at the brain, the center that processes emotions is much closer to the receptionist of the brain, part of the brain that is called the thalamus. So the thalamus is that part of the brain that processes and that receives all these sensory inputs, and then it starts distributing them to different parts of the brain, for processing. Now, emotions or amygdala is much closer to the reception, which is this thalamus. So it means that amygdala receives information that is very raw compared to the cortex, which is far away from the reception area. So these are things that are unpacked so that you get to understand, why do we behave the way we do? Why do we tend to react before we respond? Because remember, after all, we are emotional beings. We're not logical beings. Logic comes secondary, but primary is the emotions that are activated first for survival purposes. Would you like to learn more about these things? Would you like to learn more about emotional intelligence? Would you like to learn more about empathy? Would you like to learn more about how to be effective as a leader? Then let's take this discussion further in a form of a workshop and in a form of a talk. Then you'll be so glad you did that.